All right, Shane, well, moving on. We had a big game here in Athens. At least the hype was big, and the game did not live up to the hype because them Georgia Bulldogs, Shane, they're everything we said they were and then some. 37-0 whooping here. Noon for a noon crowd, Shane. I think this was the rowdiest noon crowd I have ever seen in my life. Kirby, he seemed like it was a challenge all week to get these fans fired up and ready to create this home field advantage because he knew that could play a huge factor in the game, and it did because it really snowballed early for the Arkansas Razorbacks. They had not allowed a single point in the first quarter. I made a note of that on Friday's show. And what did Georgia do? Without JT Daniels even suiting up, mind you, they just went right down the field with perfect execution, scored a touchdown. 3-and-out Arkansas. Punt, block, touchdown. Georgia up 21-0 before you could blink. And from there on out, the Razorbacks never stood a chance in this one, thanks in large part to these fans. So, I don't know. What do you take away from this one, Shane?
Man, don't give up, Arkansas. Think about it. You were the eighth ranked team in the country there for a minute.
Right.
Think about where you were 2-3 years ago. This game, it hurts. I've been there, man. And the fact of the matter is you're still building something over there. And the fact that you're moving quicker than any other new coach in the SEC is just impressive. So I think the biggest takeaway is just don't fold up and quit on your team, because 4-1 Arkansas, man, I take that in a heartbeat. Look at who you beat: A&M, Texas. You went to Georgia. You made some mistakes, and they took advantage of you. Don't let that happen again. Rebuild. That's what I get. Now, on the other side, Mike, Georgia may be the best damn team in the entire country. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at him. It's like you got Stetson over there that, he had 47 yards passing because they didn't have to. That defense is just and I love the stats that people kept coming out after week. Well, look at who they played. Look at this offense. Look how bad this offense is. It doesn't matter who's on the field. Georgia finds a way to just choke them out every single time, and this was no different.
Yeah, 273 yards on the ground for them Georgia Bulldogs, only 75 for Arkansas, and they were leading the SEC in rushing attempts heading into this one, but they just had nothing doing. And, I think we're really seeing, Shane, in college football and in the NFL, and if you watch the Peyton and Eli Monday Night Football, they teach you more about football than any other announcers you're going to get. But, they reference it time and time again. Defenses are playing back. They're not letting you get the explosive plays on them because those explosives will kill you. So what do people like Barry Odom, what's so ingenious about what he's doing? He's keeping everything in front of him. He's making you go 10, 12, 14 plays to score a touchdown, and they're daring you to run the ball. Now, the vast majority of teams, they'll make those mistakes. They cannot sustain drives like that. What does the Georgia Bulldogs got that most people don't? They got those monsters on the offensive line. They go about 4-5 deep at running back. And like you said, they didn't even need Stetson Bennett to do much through the passing game, 72 passing yards. And, normally if you say Arkansas is going to hold Georgia to 72 passing yards, you got to think, well, hell, they got a shot in this ball game. They stood no shot. And, it's really, the Georgia Bulldogs just, it's kind of wild. We'll get to Sam Pittman comments here in just a minute, but it almost mimics Shane Beamer from a couple weeks ago. And my God, they got all these 5 stars all over the field, and they just lean on you. And they're a matchup nightmare. And even for the number 8 team in the country, and hell, we're already seeing it. Arkansas was overrated. Hell, I thought Arkansas should be top 5. They deserve that type of billing. Yet going into that buzzsaw in Athens, we saw what happened. And, man, I'm right there with you. I've been saying it all along. I think Georgia Bulldogs, the team to beat in the SEC, I think they're the team to beat for the national championship.
And, Mike, I think the scariest part is they're getting better every week. When you look at, there was some really sloppy play when they opened up the season with Clemson. And since then, it just seems like every single week, not only does that defense get better, but the offense is starting to take a next step. This offensive line took control. When they didn't have to pass because there was so much push up front. Those guys were averaging over 5 yards a carry. It didn't matter who was doing it, whether it be Zeus, whether it be Cook. It didn't matter. They just moved the ball at will, and that plays well with the defense. If you can keep them out there all that time, I mean, that's Georgia's wheelhouse, and they're going to continue to grow. Now, my only question to you, Mike, and this is something we talked a little bit about when we did that little Twitter thing, whatever you called it.
Mm-hmm. The Spaces.
But yeah, whatever it is, yeah, that thing you told me to get on there. But I'm just curious, your thought. The fact that they don't have to have the passing game involved, do you think that's going to catch them one day? Do you think that's going to backfire when you see this basically conservative play calling on offense, rely on your defense? Do you think there's ever going to come a time, because there's some teams out there that I still think can give Georgia's defense a little bit better run for their money? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's going to backfire, the fact that they are not actively using those tools right now?
I mean, potentially, especially when you reference it, the games they got upcoming, like the Florida Gators, potentially. We're going to play Auburn next week. They're looking, hell, we'll get to them, but they had a very impressive win here on Saturday night. And then in the SEC championship, whoever they play, it's looking like it's going to be Alabama. So, yeah, they're going to have to get that. But, it's something Kirby hit on in his post-game remarks. It's not like they came into each game saying we got to run the ball 57 times. It's dictated by the defense you're looking at, and it goes to exactly what I was kind of referencing. I mean, that's what Barry Odom does, and I think it's because they've got elite linebackers, they've got a really good defensive line now, but outside of Jalen Catalon, I don't really think they have any all-conference, all-American type players in the defensive backfield. So I think they play that, keep everything in front of them style of football because they don't want to get burned on the back end. So if that's not what the defense is giving you, you pound away on them, and that's what Georgia did, and they just couldn't stop it. So, to answer your question, that there's going to be bigger challenges. You're not going to get everybody at home and things of that nature. So we will have to develop that, but I've already started to see it, Shane, in some of the games they played this year, including South Carolina and UAB. I know those are not the strongest of competition, but if they translate what I saw in those games to upcoming ones, I got no concern about Georgia's offense. But one final thing I got on Georgia, I wanted to really give this guy a shout-out, Shane. Zamir White, senior running back who came back.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know his injury history. He's had a couple of knee surgeries. I don't know if you caught this, but on the punt block, I know that was a spectacular play, and that was the play that kind of busted this thing wide open. The thing that caught my attention, and maybe it's just my ignorance, I should have known this before, but Zamir White's on the punt team, Shane, and he was cheering harder than anybody. And I just, I said to myself, this is a guy that could be in the NFL right now. Like I said, he's had the injury history. He's the starting running back for the Georgia Bulldogs. How many, senior running backs are willing to do that? And I think it says a lot about him, and I think it says a lot about the Georgia Bulldogs that they want to put their best players on special teams because they know its importance. But I don't know. I just think a totally selfless, act there, and I think that speaks again to why I think Georgia is the team to beat, because they got all this talent and all these guys are bought in, and none of them are too big for the team. And I guarantee it, there's not every starting running back across the country is willing to do punt team. And so I just wanted to give him a little shout out there.
Yeah, I get that, but I'll tell you too, a lot of that's with Kirby. I mean, you think about Nick Saban a few years back when, Tua was on the field goal team. We were like, what the hell is he doing out there? You're starting quarterbacks fielding snaps for the field goal team. And then I even further back, you think of NFL great Bill Belichick. Gronk got hurt on a field goal.
Right.
So that's what big elite programs do. And special teams, when they say it's offense, defense, and special teams, they don't mean, 40, 40, 20. They actually mean 33, 33, 33. it is just as crucial. I mean, look at the Florida game, special teams. Look at the South Carolina game. Hell, we're going to talk about them if it weren't for special teams. So I think you're right there. One thing that really stood out to me about Zamir White, you were talking about the knee injury, was that damn touchdown he had. When they slowed that thing down, and I don't know how his knee didn't touch the ground. I was looking, and I was like, man, if I performed that move right there, Mike, I'd still be in the ER, you know?
All right, Shane, let's kick it over to Sam Pittman and Kirby Smart's post-game comments.
The opening remark would be how incredible our fan base is, and they answered the bell today. I think all you guys would admit they were elite, and we noticed it. And to come out there in warm-ups, in coming out of the tunnel, to look up there and see every seat full at a noon kick, it's special to be at Georgia, and they impacted the game.
I'm sure you didn't exactly plan on 57 runs versus 11 passes, but how much of it was Arkansas did respect the passing game? How much of it was Stetson starting and wanted to take pressure off him? Just what accounted, I guess, for just having such a reinvigorated run game this week?
Well, it's called scheme, Seth. I mean, it's not a reinvigorated run game as much as it is you take what they give you, and we felt like it was important to play the game patient but aggressive. And I would have definitely thought there might have been 53 runs in this game, 57 runs, whatever there were, because that was the kind of game plan that we needed to approach it with. And you know what? It might be different next week. The best teams I've ever been around can take on the personality of what they need to take on. And I'm really proud of the offensive line. I'm proud of the offensive coaching staff who did an incredible job game planning against what is a very good defense, in my opinion, a very good defense, and they did a really good job of game planning for that. So it had nothing to do with Stetson Bennett, the quarterback, had nothing to do with the reinvigorated run game. It had to do with what we thought it took to win.
Could you please talk a little bit about Zamir? He seemed extremely, extremely excited after that block punt. And this is twice now, I guess, he's made that sort of play against the Hogs. Could you talk about Zamir for a little bit, please?
Zamir's just incredible. There's two kinds of players. There's the player that knows his role, and then there's a player that knows his role and is committed to his role. And Zamir knows his role, and he's committed to his role. I mean, he probably had 3 or 4 of the biggest plays in the game. The touchdown that broke it open with the run where the knee was almost down. The block punt, I think Dan Jackson actually blocked the punt, not Zamir, but Zamir recovered it. Zamir takes so much pride in that, you know. Like, you have to stay after practice on 2 days a week and work on punt block. Well, a guy that's been here 4 years, that'd be easy for him to say, I don't really want to do that. I want to get off the field and go inside. But he stays out there and works on punt block because that's his unit. That's his special teams. Coach Muschamp, the special team staff, has done an incredible job of impacting the game. And I thought that they were both very aggressive calls to come after the punts, and Zamir recovered it.
Just as far as JT go, just kind of what exactly? I know it's a status with the lat right now moving forward.
Yeah, it's week to week, guys. I mean, do your research on a lat injury. It's one of the largest muscles in the body. It can be strained, it can be stretched, it can be torn. Dak Prescott went through this injury, and Dak's, we think, was more extreme than I'm getting a little bit of an echo there, Claude. Dak's was more extreme than we think JT's is, but JT's is a grade 1 lat sprain, and we think we're going to be able to get him back. But we don't know when, and I know this. The men in the locker room have confidence in whoever we put out there. And I know y'all don't believe what I say. I know you say, yeah, whatever, that's just coach speak. We have confidence in our quarterbacks. Like, I have a lot of confidence in Carson Beck. Brock Vandagriff goes in front of me every day. So I'm very pleased with the quarterbacks we have. It's unfortunate that JT can't go because it's not like we've done anything to make him worse. If anything, he's had a lot of time off. And we don't know if, the oblique compounded the lat, but they're 2 separate injuries, and it's been flaring up on him, and it's a painful injury that we're hopefully going to get him back from. But I can't explain it any more than that, but I'm not losing sleep over it, guys, because it's beyond our control. And Stetson Bennett is a really good quarterback, and I keep saying that, and, people don't believe us, but he's a good quarterback.
I could ask one more about JT. You said on TV before the game that his availability would be based upon pre-game. Was it close at all, or Stetson made it sound like he was the number one guy all the way?
Why is this the conversation? I mean, was it close at all? He couldn't play. He couldn't go out and effectively lead the team and play. To do that, you don't need to have a strained lat. Now, could he have gone out there and handed off the ball? Possibly. But that's not – guys, you're missing the window. Like, y'all are making the story all about that. The story should be about these fans. The story should be about these players that go out there and lay it on the line and play their butt off. And I'm so proud of our offensive line, our tight ends, our receivers who didn't get a ton of catches and they blocked their butt off, and their defense and the special teams unit. Make it about that, guys. I mean, JT's going to be okay. Make it about what matters.
Yeah, Coach, hard to believe we've gotten this deep in the conversation, not talking about the defense in itself. Was that even beyond what your expectations would have been for what they could do against this offense today?
Chip, for the first time in my career, I could not agree with you more with your comment.
Thanks.
Yeah, Sam, you kind of covered a lot of it, but what were just your takeaways? You know, what allowed them to control your run game and be able to run?
Well, a bunch of it was we started in the hole. You know, we worked on the stem and the movement and all that, but evidently not enough because we had several jump off sides, which, you know, it's hard to get 10 against Georgia, let alone 15, and on the first one it was 20. You know, guys, I don't want to simplify this, but they just whipped us physically. I mean, it wasn't guys in the backfield turned loose or anything like that. We couldn't block them, and we couldn't get off blocks a lot of the day. And then when we did, it took us a long time to get them on the ground. And you know, we got to get better, and we will. But today, they just out-physicaled us and kind of played bully ball on us and made us like it. And we didn't like it, but there wasn't nothing we could do about it at times in the game because.
Yeah, Coach, I know you got to be disappointed, but the penalties, I think there are 18 flags thrown on Arkansas, and I think 13 of them were accepted. How do you get those corrected? And it seems like it's been a little bit of an issue this year.
Well, we just got to keep working on it. You know, we had a lot of pass interference calls. We had a lot of jumped off sides, both sides of the line of scrimmage. And, I mean, we have officials at every practice. We're going to have to emphasize it a little bit more, I guess. I guess we're going to have to do something instead of just bringing them out off the practice field, do something different. Because, obviously if we knew how to stop it, we would have already been doing it.
And you guys had false starts on your first two offensive plays. How surprised was that? Do you think that just had a lot to do with the crowd, not having played in front of a big crowd really in 2 years?
You know, I really have no idea. I mean, we practiced it. I have no idea why they jumped off sides. I mean, I'm not a mind reader. Hell, I don't know. I mean, we practiced it. We practiced it with noise. That we stemmed them. We moved them. They jumped off sides. I don't have any idea why they jumped off sides. I wish it did. We'd fix it.